What's up guys, Ender Unknown here. I am back for episode 7 of our Spelunky tutorial series here in Unity, and today we are going to be starting the first episode of kind of like a three-part, I don't want to call it a mini-series, but that's kind of what it is. We're going to be working on our quote-unquote second stage of generation, which will be um, pretty much enemies, traps, and treasures, which will be generated based on like open spaces. So if we go into our game here, each one of these open spaces should have a chance for like an enemy or treasure or a trap to spawn or whatever. And we'll be programming in different rules for that. So I don't know, maybe if we make some sort of dart trap, it'll have to have a block above and below it and an opening on the side that it's facing. So then a valid spawning spot would be this tile here, or this tile here, or something like that. Uh, I guess I don't really know how far we're gonna get with this today. I'm planning on this being, like I said, three parts. One for treasure, which we're gonna do today. One for traps, which we'll probably do next week, and then one for enemies, which we'll do the following week. But I'm not entirely sure. We might do enemies first. We might uh, do some other stuff. I don't know. So I guess that's kind of my plan here. Anyways, we're gonna get started. The first thing that I'm sure you guys probably noticed this, if you played your game subsequent times, the first generation is always the same, and then the second generation is always the same, and then any other subsequent generation always generates in the same pattern. So if you watch it, this is the exact same map. This is because we never reset the seed, because I was going to do some player input stuff with that, but of course we don't really have a menu or anything. So for right now, we're gonna go change that so that it's just random, for the time being. Aside from that, I'm sure this wasn't a problem for you guys, but I did fix some of the prefabs. I had tiles layered on top of um, each other, I guess, so it spawned two tiles in the same place, which for my testing for what we're going to work on today, that causes errors. I guess I'll walk you guys through fixing that later. Pretty much all you have to do is go into the prefab and go find which tiles are on the same spot. Again, you guys probably didn't make this mistake, it was just me. I copied and pasted some prefabs that all had that same error, and I had to go fix that. Anyways, let us get started. The first thing that we are going to need to do is open up our generation script and our tile spawn script, and then we can get started. First things first, we're going to fix the seed here. So right here, this is what I believe where yeah, initializes the random number generator with a seed. I'm pretty sure, since we just use Unity's singleton random instance or static random instance, we're just gonna get rid of that so that it doesn't have a seed for the time being, and this should make it random. We'll come back and fix this once we actually do seeds, if we get around to that in the menu later. Anyways, that'll be for a different video. That is all we have to do, so we are gonna get on to making a quick dictionary here. It's going to be a dictionary between a vector2 position and a game object. So this is going to store the position of our tiles and then the corresponding tile with the given position. I'm sure there are other ways to uh, do this, but I don't know. This is the way I like. So we're just going to call this tile dict for dictionary, and that is going to equal a new dictionary. And yeah, so that is all good. So pretty much what we have to do is populate that, and that is why we had to open, and actually this needs to be static. We need to populate this with entries, and actually this is probably unnecessary right now. So we'll just make a blank one, and then in start, down where we initialize everything else, we'll have tile dict is going to equal And I guess I pasted that in here. Okay, so yeah, what this is gonna do is instantiate a blank dictionary in which we can add stuff to, which is what we're going to go do in our tile spawn. So over in tile spawn here, we are going to edit our instantiation code here. So we're actually going to make this a game object reference. So geo, I guess, for game objects is going to equal the game object we instantiate, and then we're going to do generation dot tiledict dot add, and we are going to be adding the key of geo.transform.position. Make sure it's position, not local position. And then also we are going to put geo as the game object there. So pretty much what this will do is as the tiles are being generated, it's going to populate our dictionary. And then once the dictionary is populated, we can do some, I guess, logic-based stuff to quote-unquote register our gold and enemies and or treasure and enemies and whatnot into the thing. Anyways, I'm going to be right back in Unity. Okay, back in Unity. Pretty much what we coded isn't going to do anything right now. I decided we're going to actually make our treasure here quickly. So, yes, let's make a... I guess we could just start with a sprite. And here, I have a blighted gold is going to be our treasure. We're just going to use the pixels per unit of all the other ones. So 32. We are going to have point with no filter and then none and apply all of that. So back in our new sprite, I'm going to call this blighted gold. I'm going to set the sprite. Oops, we don't want to mess with the color here. That was my bad. I'm going to set the sprite equal to our blighted gold piece here. And I actually want to rotate the sprite a little bit. So we're going to make a parent to this. So basically this is going to be the sprite, and this is going to be pretty much blighted gold. And why we want this is so that when I add a hitbox to this, I want the gold rotated, I guess is what I'm trying to say. So when we go like that, because I want it to sit on the floor somewhat naturally looking. Yeah, something like that. And then on here we can add a box collider 2D and then shrink it down to nicely fit the sprite here. And I'm gonna just rotate this a little back that way. I'll be 100% honest, I was kind of lazy with this sprite here. I went and just grabbed the blighted gold texture from my Minecraft mod. So, again, hopefully you guys probably won't need to necessarily do this if you drew the sprite in the proper orientation. But I guess functionality wise this isn't going to change anything. I'm just trying to get the sprite all nice. Okay, that looks good, I guess. So it's on its side, and now it'll look like it's sitting on the ground, and this shouldn't be a problem. We are going to need to add a new script. I'm just going to call this, I don't know. Should we just, you could just call it treasure or whatever. Okay, back inside Visual Studio, we have our treasure thingy here. I'm just gonna get rid of everything for right now because we are not going to worry about. This little mini series is more about getting the stuff to spawn. We're gonna handle the player interactions if we have time later today, or actually that might be what we do next week is getting player interactions with different treasures and whatnot. I don't really know. Hopefully we'll have time for that today. I'd like to um, have that working, but I guess we'll see. So anyways, we're just gonna remove everything from here and go back into Unity and attach it to our game object. So I'll be right back when I'm in Unity. Okay, we are back in Unity here, and I'm going to be putting the treasure script on there. We're going to add more like value and um, some other stuff pertaining to its rarity, maybe at a later date once we get the basic generation. Right now I'm trying to just build the basics, and then we'll go into uh, once we get the game up and running and everything to our liking, we'll go start tweaking the stuff so that, again, I want to add weighted random instead of just random. Anyways, that is all we need to do with our bladed gold here. So I'm going to, I guess we'll make a folder for this. Treasure. And we'll put bladed gold in our treasure. And I guess, because, why not? Oh, the other thing this thing is going to need is rigid body. So I guess we can uh, open the prefab here and add a component rigid body 2D. We're gonna want it set to dynamic and freeze rotation. Yeah, no, I think this all looks good. So yeah, we will be just saving that. I'm gonna make sure it did apply to this. So now we should be able to put it up in a corner here, spawn in, and go find where it's either stuck somewhere or more likely it fell down. Yeah, there it is. I'm colliding with it. We just can't see it because um we have to. Oh yeah, order and layer. So what do we have? Sprite render, order and layer negative. What? Oh, that's background. I just want to see what the tiles layer is. 0, 0. Interesting that we can't see that, but uh yeah, that is quite peculiar. I don't know. Don't know. I really don't like these. I mean, I'm probably just incompetent with Unity. I'm sure that's probably the problem. Hmm. Oh, and hey. Oh, I just moved the sprite, not the rigid body. It's like, where is gravity not working on this thing? Yeah. Okay. I'll be honest, I've no idea. Oh, that's probably why. I forgot to zero this out. Okay. That's gonna help. Yeah. So now this thing is just kind of part of the train. Pretty much what we want it to do is for it to have for it to have physics in the sense that if it falls, it's gonna land like that, or if it falls and hits that, it'll roll over here. But what we kind of don't want it to, it's not gonna obstruct the player because what we're gonna program in later is that when the player touches it, well, for one, the player probably won't even be able to collide with it, and two, when they do collide with like a trigger that we make when we work on the treasure and adding treasure to the player's like money or whatever loot pile, however you want to say that, then it'll just disappear and or do an animation or something. So I know this is kind of clunky right now, but we're gonna sort it out later so that it works better. Anyways, that is all good. I'm going to go, well, delete this, and then in the prefab, I'm going to 0 it out. Yeah. Okay. That means we are going to head back into our generation script and continue working on that. With that done, we're going to continue by editing our update function here in generation. I'm going to cut out that first requirement here, so if first stage is not done, and put it as a overarching requirement here, or if statement. So then we're going to have an else, and inside of this is where we're going to be continuing off of our area here. So we're ready for player. We're gonna just comment that out here because that won't be true. We're gonna also want to set our delay equal to 0, and you're gonna see why here in a second. So we'll set delay equal to 0. Then in this else, we're gonna have if delay is greater than equal to 1. And actually we want another boolean, so public static bool second stage done equals false. And we'll actually want to second stage equals false. Okay, so if second stage isn't done and delay is greater than equal to 1, then this is where we're going to do our second stage loading. And otherwise, so else if second stage is done, then we're just going to do delay plus plus. So pretty much what this is going to do is trigger on the second update, because the first update, based on the order, our dictionary has not been populated fully. So if we wait till the second update, we'll have all of the items in it, just because of how Unity orders its loading sequence, and I don't know how to manipulate that, if that's even possible. So this is just an easy workaround to that. So our second stage loading is going to be treasure. I guess we could probably go up and make a public game object array called treasure. Again, this is probably going to end up being, I don't know, replaced with a weighted system, but I guess we'll figure that out when we do. So, yeah. Okay, so this will be pretty easy. Second stage is going to be all about different rules with our dictionary here. So we want to do, I'm going to just add another comment. So this will be treasure. So for treasure, pretty much we want it to be more abundant in areas that have less neighbors, to say. Or more neighbors. So like crooks and crannies, whereas enemies we're going to want in the open. So we're going to have to make some helper functions here, but that shouldn't be too bad. What we're going to want to do is a int called get adjacent count or neighbor count, and then we're going to want a vector2 position, And so what this is going to do, this helper function is going to count all of the adjacent tiles. And this should be pretty easy because we are going to count diagonals, so that means around a given tile there are 8 possible quote-unquote neighbors, if you want to say. So what we're going to do is, I guess we'll just do this. So I guess we'll do x between 0 and 8. Actually, so it'd be negative 1. So no, 8's the total. So it'd be negative 1 and 1, 2, I think. So that would leave us with, if this was our grid here, I guess I'll make a grid out of, I don't know, that. So if these are our blocks, or tiles, I should say, and I think this probably means something in C#. If this is our tile, and this is our position, so x is going to go from negative 1 to 0 to 1 because it's less than 2. So yeah, that's right. And then we're going to want to do the same for y here. And basically what this will do is, these are the modifiers. So if our tile dictionary, and actually I want to do, we'll just make a vector 2 called new pos. It's going to equal our pos plus a new vector 2, x and y. So we'll just do some vector addition here. And then if our, and actually we're going to want a counter, so int counter equals 0. So if our tile dictionary contains the key, which would be the vector 2 of our new position, then we are going to want to increment counter. So that really isn't too hard. And then the last thing we are going to need to do is have a quick check that if the new position is equal to just the position, or I guess we could check if both x and y are equal to 0, then we just want to continue and skip that because we don't want it to count itself as a neighbor. And then at the bottom here, we're just going to have it return counter. And that is pretty much what we want to do. So I guess we're going to have to do a for each loop. So for each vector 2 called, I guess, position or pos in our tile dictionary.get. Can we get, yeah, keys. There we go. So for each vector 2 in keys, or vector 2 pos in keys, tile dictionary keys, which will iterate through them. Or actually, wait, do we want to? No, we're going to want to include, yeah, no, so that's not going to work, is that? Nope. We're going to have to do x's and y's again. So our length is going to be equal to our actual length value multiplied by scale. Because if you think about it, our scale is what, 9, 10? I don't remember. I think it's 10. 10, so that means the total number of x tiles. We have four rooms. Each room is 10. That's 40 tiles long. So that would be 4 times 10 to get 40. 0 through 39 is a total of 40 values. And then we'll do the same for our y value. But that would be, what did I call it? Length and height. So actually that should have been width and height, but oh well. Where did I... Oh, up here. My bad. Yeah, so that would be height times scale. For each of these, we're going to get a vector 2 called pos. That's going to equal a new vector 2 with x and y. So we want to only be checking airspaces. So if a location doesn't have a tile, that's where we want to check. So if our tile dictionary contains the key of position, if it doesn't contain the key, I should say, then this is where we are going to do our calculations. So we're going to need another helper function, and this is going to be a bool called has floor, I guess, for lack of a better term. Basically, this is going to check if so we're going to add a position. So if position plus... So, okay, I need to back up. This is going to check if there's a floor, because we're not going to want to spawn gold just in the middle of a room floating. I mean, it'd fall down and that'd be fine, but there'd be the chance that multiple gold could get spawned in the same area, and I don't know. That might be an interesting thing to do, so I guess if you wanted to experiment with this, you could just ignore the Boolean statement here. So pos plus vector 2 dot down, not down, which is shorthand for -1. So basically, if the tile, and actually this should be tile dictionary contains key that return true. And actually, okay, here's learning experience for y'all. This is a interesting little trick. I guess if you want to really shorthand stuff, instead of checking to see if that's true, just return the statement. So if tile dictionary, return. So this is kind of an if statement. So tile dictionary contains the key down. If that is true, so if there is a floor under it, has floor will be returned as true because it does contain the key for the block, or there is a key for a block underneath it. And then otherwise it'll be false. So I don't know, just an interesting thing. You guys probably already knew that, but okay. So if it doesn't contain a key or position and has floor is equal to true, which we don't have to type anything because it's assumed that it'd be true if you don't have any of the logic stuff. Anyways, so if it contains a key and it has a floor, then this is where we're going to want to have a chance of generating a neighbor, or so we want to also count the neighbors. And actually, this is not just treasure. Enemies will be generated with this as well. So this is where it splits into categories, I guess. So I guess we'll get the int called count is going to equal get adjacent count with the position. If our count, so if we have a lot of neighbors, so I guess if it's greater than, I don't know, we'll try 4. Yeah, and we're also going to want a so I guess the question is, do we want to hard code this or do we want to make it like a multiplier? So there still is a chance for enemies to spawn in small spaces. I don't know. That sounds maybe beyond the scope of right now. So we will hard code it for today, and then if it turns out really bad, we'll come and fix it. So I guess if the count is greater than, I guess we'll do 6 then. Which would mean it's a very enclosed space, or maybe even 5. Yeah, 5 is good. And actually, we want this to be a... Then this is treasure. So if count is greater than 5, we're going to do treasure, or equal to maybe even. I don't know. That's we'll tweak. We might have to tweak that later. So then this is where we're generating a treasure. I believe we already made a game object list. So I guess we'll do what random dot int. What? No, it's just range. Okay, between 0 and treasure dot length. This is going to be our index. And then we are going to instantiate the object. So treasure at the index of index. And its transform is going to be pos and then quaternion identity. I believe that is, position and then rotation. Okay, so that should be all that we need for our treasure. I don't know, maybe this was a bit complicated for some, so I'm sorry, I probably didn't do a great job of explaining it. I think all we have to do now is add in our, actually we do need to go down here, and when we're done with everything, we need to set second stage done equal to true, and then ready for player equal to true as well. Okay. I'm going to go make sure everything's working, and then if it is, well, actually, more accurately, if it isn't, then we'll come fix stuff, and if it is, then, well, we'll continue from there. Okay, I foolishly forgot that we made our coordinates special, so the y is all negative. So I just changed the y value, so int y is equal to 0, while y is greater than the opposite of height multiplied by scale, y minus minus. So right here, I swapped that out for whatever we had previously for this. And also, this count is too high, I think. It should be probably greater than, I don't know, 4. And this will depend on your level design. If you don't make a lot of crooks and crevices, then you might even need less. When I generated a world with 5, it only made 1. So I guess we'll try 3. That'll probably be too abundant. We could maybe make it an inspector variable. I guess whatever works. We're probably also going to want to add a chance onto this so that it's random, not just random treasure, but we'll just add random so that not every single spot that meets this requirement will have it. But I guess we'll go handle that for after we go see how this works. So, anyways, I will be back in Unity. Okay, yeah, this is considerably better. Now, I would go and say that this is too much gold for the player, like a lot too much. So we could either try restricting the number a little further and then also adding the chance, or just adding the chance. I'm going to go add the chance. You guys can play around with the number to fit how much gold you want in your game. Less is probably more, and we'll just make all the shop prices cheaper when we go around to adding shops and whatnot, but I don't know. I guess I'm going to go back into Visual Studio and we will add a little bit of random to that. So, yeah, let's do that. Okay, so this is going to be pretty easy to add random. Now we have to determine how random do we want this. So we could do 1 out of 4. We could do 1 out of 10. 1 out of 100. Depends how rare you want your gold. I'm going to do 1 out of 4 because I think that seems... Actually, 1 out of 5 probably, because I think that's a fair ratio. Because out of all that gold, then only 1 out of 5 of it will. So for every 5, instead there'll just be 1 of the previous ratio. Now, so what we could do, there are two options for this, and it depends how you want the random to work. We could have a random chance on this upper condition, so it'll just randomly try uh the like areas that have a floor and areas that uh are so areas that are air and that also have a floor will be randomly tried, or out of all of the ones we could randomly try just the ones that succeed, which this is going to be more consistent, this is going to be more random, I do believe. So I prefer consistency, so I'm going to do and random range between, I don't know, 0, 5 equals 0. So that's 1 out of 5. I'm pretty sure, yeah, max is exclusive. Okay, so now if we go back into Unity and run this, the gold should be considerably less frequent. Okay, so now when we run this, if I just go into the scene view, yeah, maybe this is too infrequent, I don't know. I guess we could go start up another level and take a peek. And I guess, yeah, this would be up to you guys if you think this is too, not enough gold. And I know we can't get to that gold in there even. You guys will have to play with this, for generation and such. I guess my plan is that we're gonna go through all the generation stuff. So next week is gonna probably be, you know what? I might even try to just do a longer episode next week and just tackle like a double episode special and tackle both mm, enemies and traps, so we can get all of that stuff generating, and then we can move into the player, because we can't have the player pick up the gold and interact with the enemies until we get the enemies and traps figured out, because they're all going to extend some like living base or whatever. Now I do want to see how this is doing for random, because if you recall, we had a special incident with our seed. Oh, and I don't think I showed this. The seed looks fine, by the way. I don't think I showed this, but in our generator, you have to add blighted gold to uh, the treasure. I'm pretty sure that's self-explanatory after watching all the other videos and how that works, but you do have to do that. You can add different types of treasure. It'll right now pick them unbiasedly. I want to do some sort of treasure chest, but I want to get the basics down. Then we're gonna add uh, weighted stuff, and then we'll come back and add like the treasure chest if I have time later on. Because I'm trying to keep these episodes within not like an hour long. Anyways, I do believe with our gold generation complete, that is going to be all for today's video. Again, you can tweak the values and maybe add different types of textures. You could make the same bladed gold, whatchamacallit, uh, without, you wouldn't have to, hmm, you wouldn't have to change any of the properties. You could just make the same thing with a different texture to add a little more, I don't know, excitement. I guess the one thing I don't like is this looks very patterned. You can kind of tell where the gold will generate. So it could generate here, it can generate here, it can generate there and there. Any of these corners really. So maybe 4 would be better, but it has a higher chance. I'll let you guys play around with that. So maybe 4, 1 out of 2, or like 50%, so 1 out of 2. You could just change that to be a random number between 0 and 2. So it'd be 0 or 1 would be possibilities if it equals 0, but make it so it's 4, so it's spawns more infrequently. I don't know. I guess, yeah, so that's all I have for today. We will be back next week with, I think I'm going to do that special if I can make time for that. We'll just tackle enemies, and then we'll tackle traps. And I say plural, but right now we're just going to get the framework for generation. And then after we do generation, we'll probably move on to refining some of these concepts so that our game is a little more interactive. Because right now it doesn't look great. Like it's getting there. It's smooth. We have gold. I really like seeing the gold in the game. I like the bright colors contrasting the pretty much dark of all the ebon stone. I don't know. Anyways, that's enough of me talking. So I think I've said this 3 times now. I'm just gonna cut to outro. So end her out. Thank you guys for watching.